Hello. In 2023, I made a video reading some stories from socialists on why they became socialists. The video did pretty well, amassing a little over 1,000 views. So, I think it's time to rinse and repeat. I've got new strategies for getting the message out there. I recently made a new Reddit account, an X account, and a TikTok account. I've got fresh stories to read. I'm doing this video to show people who are not socialist or communist that people do not become socialists or communists overnight. People don't just wake up one day and decide to praise Stalin or whatever. The process of radicalization takes months, if not years. My process started with Bernie Sanders in 2016 and reached the tipping point in 2022 after I lost my job at the end of COVID. The turn of events, circumstances, and material conditions that I have been subject to over the past 3 years have proven a lot of communist theorists right. People like Marx, Lenin, Stalin, and Mao. A lot of people in my family know about my politics now, though it's rarely brought up. But I have been made aware that even some of my conservative family members know my dirty secret. Luckily, I have not spoken to these people, and truth be told, I don't plan on it. If there's one video I hope they watch, it's this one, because I would like them to understand what drives people to this point, and this line of thinking. My hope for the short-term future is that being a socialist is no more controversial than being a conservative is to a liberal, or being a liberal is to a conservative. And videos like these aim to not only normalize and inspire revolutionary thought, but increase support for socialism. This time we're heading to the subreddit for the deprogram, a favorite of mine if you can't tell. The title of the post I'm looking at mirrors the title of this video. Below it, an image of a tweet that reads, "It's so funny that libs think the youth have become radicalized due to Chinese influence in TikTok. Like, blood, these kids were in school when Sandy Hook happened, and when they asked if their lives mattered more than guns, you told them to duck next time. You radicalized them." I've never been a fan of the whole gun control thing, under no pretext after all. But this tweet makes an amazing point. Instead of addressing the material conditions that lead to school shootings, liberals would rather ban all firearms outright, while conservatives would rather forsake the lives of elementary school children, kids aged between 5 and 12 years. It's no wonder our children grow up mentally disturbed, witnessing murder and death, being gaslighted into thinking it's just a fact of life, and then being indoctrinated into this death cult of a political system. The first story, by Comrade Radu47, reads, "Was always a latent radical, but the tipping point was being stuck with a disability and experiencing firsthand how a power-hungry culture was not only neglectful but adversarial to vulnerable folks. That really helped me get into Stalin was based territory. Glad to be here ultimately, where I should be naturally. Like 100 other things along the way also." Far too many times, I've heard stories of the less fortunate, the physically, mentally, and financially impaired being betrayed by the system. That's how it always starts, it seems. Social Darwinism, the doctrine of brutality, goes hand in hand with capitalism, identifying itself as individualism to appeal to the quote-unquote sovereign citizen. As if it was justified under any circumstance, it's been the rationale to ignore labor laws and exploit legal loopholes. It manifests itself in various ways. I've also experienced something like this firsthand. Once upon a time, I worked for a restaurant chain known as Bronze. First and to date, only experience working in fast food. One night, just 3 weeks into my employment, I let my anxiety get the best of me and shouted, not at anything or anyone in particular, but just shouted, and was sent home and fired the next day for creating a hostile work environment. I brought up that I had anxiety, but was denied the chance to appeal my termination. Not to mention the fact that I busted my ass through COVID, helped carry the economy on my back only to lose my job at the end of it, and be denied any sort of financial assistance from the government I remained loyal to. I've also seen my brother, racked with depression, unable to get disability comp. My father as well, who struggles with both anxiety and depression, and who during the last 2 years I spent in Kansas had his food stamps taken away from him and was fired from his job as a manager at Dollar General, despite the company having not conducted a proper investigation into his alleged misconduct, and was still rejected for unemployment benefits. I've unfortunately also seen regular people side with the villain of stories like these, believing the propaganda that the worse off are just lazy or just drug addicts trying to get a state-approved fix, even trying to sell the idea that they are impotent in one way or another. It's just disgusting. Solidarity, Radu47. I hope you have the help that you need. The next story, by Comrade Drama Mine Love Machine, reads, "I started off an alt-right 4chan user as a teenager. I was raised in rural Kentucky in a 99% white, heavily Christian community, kind of slowly moving to the liberal center as I learned more. I was a Democrat by 2020, but got radicalized during the events of COVID and attending the BLM protests. I can relate. I was a huge edgelord when I was a teenager and thought the Nazis were cool. Voted for Biden in 2020 and drifted further left from there. Watching the state let millions die just to keep corporate profits in check really gave me a new perspective. At the same time, I was attending the protests, seeing with my own eyes peaceful picketing escalated by the police into violent conflict. Then going home to see the left media, CNN, telling a completely different story. It was seriously a trip seeing cops busting out windows left and right with rubber bullets, then going home and flipping on the news to hear them crying about property damage. Even back then, I noticed how cops were the ones picking fights, especially in areas where peaceful protest was the first step. I always blamed Trump for that, but in retrospect, hearing Biden condemn violent protesters kind of feels like a slap in the face. He never once considered that the people were protesting because police were the ones to be violent first. Never once thought to condemn the cops that were murdering innocent people and firing at people for exercising their constitutional right to protest. I say constitutional because even though it's written in the First Amendment, the ruling class doesn't want you to do it, and they will sick the cops on you. No, we're all supposed to be obedient drones, slaves that see no evil and hear no bad coming from the upper echelon. Neither party wants us to give a shit when a black man is lynched by law enforcement, or when ICE rips immigrant families apart, or when Israel slaughters hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza. The crazy thing is, I was anti-cop and considered myself part of the radical left, but still was just anti-corporate or mixed economy until just last year, this being posted in 2024. I only recently started to connect the dots on the full scope of capitalist oppression and accept the communist ideology that I thought was silly for so long. Red hysteria is a bitch. Unfortunately, McCarthy-era propaganda, and really Cold War-era propaganda as a whole, has hindered progress in so many ways that one almost has reason to fear that instead of transitioning into socialism, the US will instead devolve into barbarism. It's always amazing to see, though, that people are coming to their own conclusion that capitalism works against the common good, and choose to forsake it. Everything capitalism does, its heralds point the finger at communism, accusing the communist ideology of the same or similar shortcomings or atrocities, forging evidence and data to convince everyone of the lies. Every accusation is a confession. The last story is pretty heavy. Comrade Longstash 7065s reads, I watched corporations experiencing record profits from 2001 to 2007 treat my parents, one especially, to the eternal our budget's tight, we have to make cuts, consolidate costs, lay off people and consolidate jobs, which had them eventually place 15 people's jobs on my mother, leading her to 90-hour work weeks and eventually a mental breakdown that made my life complete hell. 15 people's jobs! And I'm guessing all for the price of one. I mean, why wouldn't it be? I remember doing like 2 people's jobs when I worked at Brahms, the grill and the dress station, and I couldn't even keep up with that, especially when it was completely fucking slammed and management only scheduled myself and themselves for the kitchen. I couldn't fathom the responsibility of 15. Where I work, that's like 2 whole departments worth of people for a single shift. And 90-hour work weeks, that's 18 hours a day for 5 days. Jesus Christ, man. If I was your mom, I would have been like, fuck no. Find somebody else to put up with that bullshit. No doubt that took a massive toll on your mental health and your mother's mental and physical health. That woke me up enough to get a bit political and start protesting obvious corruption. So when I saw the Cox buy Scott Walker, I protested it. And the feds came after me and showed me the FBI is literally a traitor organization that does the bidding of oligarchs against the people of this country. Yep, for those who are unfamiliar, the Koch family, Koch family, are the owners of Koch Industries, which, long explanation short, is one of the conglomerates responsible for the ongoing destruction of the worldwide environment. Scott Walker is a Republican politician who served as the 45th governor of Wisconsin. Protests broke out in Wisconsin in 2011 in response to Walker's proposal of the budget repair bill, which basically sought to strike down collective bargaining for public sector employees. Of course, with the protests being organized by the Democrats, the demonstrations proved too ineffective to have the bill thrown out. The Wisconsin Capitol was stormed, which likely is what resulted in federal agents coming after the demonstrators, which only succeeded in showing many of the demonstrators, OP included, that the FBI is in fact a tool of oppression for the state and for private property owners. Then I lost my family, and due to crap wages and patriarchy, I couldn't do shit to get them back. Damn, that's heartbreaking. I won't claim to know, but I'm assuming they were hauled off to jail for one reason or the other. Then the healthcare system, through greed and avarice, took the life of the woman I loved. Oh, fuck. Not gonna lie, I'd probably Luigi someone at that point. In Minecraft, of course. I am so sorry, friend. I don't think anyone that's ever lost the love of their life could ever be the same. I know I couldn't, anyway. I've produced roughly $14 million in value for other men, but over my entire career have been paid maybe $500,000, currently looking for a job and wondering how to avoid homelessness in 2 months despite the insane amount of work I've done. The patents, the papers, the dozens of machines, the enormous systems of accountability. All the things I've done isn't enough to guarantee me a few more years, but some asshole who never did anything but rob people like me gets to use gold-plated toilet seats on his flights to Epstein's Island. I know that feeling. We get a mere fraction back of the value we produce. They only give us so much money over a certain period of time, an hour, a week, whatever, and even half of what's tossed our way is sent to the state as quote-unquote income tax, while the actual value that we produce is sent to the elite, the CEOs, corporate, and shareholders, all who I'm convinced do nothing but attend their little meetings and think of ways to fuck us over when they're not making record profits. And when they're not doing that, that, they're either on their private jet to Epstein's Island or having brunch at home in their mansions. Meanwhile, we at the bottom give the system everything, and even when we've given it our all, it only continues to demand more. I've been there, man. Trust me. I fully support gun rights. I don't think disarming the working class is how you protect students from mass shootings. I think building tight-knit, strong communities with third places and hand-ups and safety nets and cracking down on fascists protects them. Exactly. Addressing material conditions will go a long way in preventing gun or any other kind of violence. There is a proven link between bullying and school shootings, between poverty and crime in general. Matter of fact, regrettably, I was having thoughts of doing this sort of thing after I lost my job in 2022, because I felt betrayed and trapped, doomed for poverty, for imminent homelessness and starvation. I considered violent acts of retribution against those that wronged me. Would I have been offered rehabilitation and re-education, or would I have been thrown into a prison cell and possibly placed on death row for such actions? Capitalism, fascism, social Darwinism. These systems do nothing but encircle the less fortunate and destroy any who lash out. That, and there's been about 25-ish friends who have been suicidal from this system that I've had to talk down and work hard to change patterns in. I have yet to lose one, but at immense personal cost, each and every one taking a pretty massive toll on me, and some of them hating my guts but never being suicidal again. That's a shame, honestly. You're a saint. I'm sure most people would pay good money to even just have you in their lives as an associate. To be able to bring 25 people back from the brink of suicide, your streak undefeated, is no small feat. That said, I understand the toll it must take on your mental health, to have someone close to you becoming suicidal, only to hate you when you turn them around. This isn't even a full recounting because anything more detailed would be a self-dox, but I can say with confidence that capitalists are the most supreme evil this planet has ever seen, and every last one is a degenerate demon straight out of hell. Agreed 1000%. All that you have been subjected to, discourtesy of the reign of capital, and to know that this isn't even the end of it for you. It almost makes me feel like what I went through was but a minor inconvenience. That said, it shouldn't even get to the point of losing your source of income, falling into debt, losing your home, and facing starvation, being consigned to such a fate by the government more or less, and yet it has for me, and it's gone even beyond for Longstash, in its own ways. They have more than enough reason to stand against capitalism, and it'll be nice to see what they do in the revolution to come. No one has any business telling us what to believe. We all have our own experiences, and we've chosen the path that we think works best, not just for ourselves, but for the common good. A lot of us were Democrats until they failed us time and time again on progressive agenda. Some of us were Republicans until we realized our politicians don't actually give a damn about the working class. Some of us were on the fence or apolitical until we realized the entire political and economic system depends on the divide and conquer strategy. My story? I was a liberal that took a chance on the Democrats because I wanted Trump gone, only to be utterly backstabbed by the administration I helped vote in. You can learn more about my story here. A link will be provided in the description. When it came down to it, the Democrats failed to keep Trump away from a second turn. They failed because they were too engrossed in their client state Israel, helping them commit genocide against the people of Gaza to send aid to North Carolinians after they had been ravaged by Hurricane Helene. And the die-hard vote blue no matter who fuckers. Don't even get me started on them. They refused to hold their president, their candidate, their politicians, their party officials accountable for this gross neglect and affront to human rights. And now we're stuck with the racist rapist, probably for good, as he guts social programs, DEI, ramped up ICE raids, attacks healthcare, health awareness, and health initiatives, pardoned everyone involved in January 6th, and is generally constructing a fascist reign of terror. But at least Elon Musk is inadvertently chipping away at the state apparatus, I guess. My point is, if you're a liberal looking for someone to blame, go take a look in the mirror. You voted to reward an administration that laid off millions as the pandemic was ending, allowed inflation to cause millions more to lose their homes and starve, refused to deliver aid to the people affected by Helene, and continued sending money and weapons to a fascist ethno-state committing a genocide behind the veil of combating anti-Semitism. And that's where I'm dropping the mic. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful for understanding the perspective of socialists, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, family, coworkers, anyone you might know. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you're also a socialist, feel free to drop your own story of radicalization, and please also subscribe for more content like this, as there will be more, and click the bell to get notified when I upload. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye guys.